School pictures. So we just read about Halloween and him and Summer deciding what they were going to be for Halloween. This chapter is called School Pictures. I don't think anyone will be shocked to learn. I don't want to have my picture taken on October 22nd. No way. No, thank you. I stopped letting anyone take pictures of me a while ago. I guess you can also call it a phobia. No, actually, it's not a phobia, it's an aversion, which is a word I just learned in Mr. Brown's class. I have an aversion to having my picture taken. There, I used it in a sentence. I thought Mom would try to get me to drop my aversion to having my picture taken for school, but she didn't. Unfortunately, while I managed to avoid having the portrait taken, I couldn't get out of being part of the class picture. Ugh. The photographer looked like he just sucked on a lemon when he saw me. I'm sure he thought I ruined the picture. I was one of the ones in the front sitting down. I didn't smile. Not that anyone can tell if I had. The cheese touched. I noticed not too long ago that even though people were getting used to me, no one would actually touch me. I didn't realize this at first because it's not like the kids going around touching each other that much in middle school anyway. But last Thursday in dance class, which is like my least favorite class, Mrs. Atanabe, the teacher, tried to make Zenema Chen be my dance partner. Now, I've never actually seen someone have a panic attack before, but I have heard about it, and I'm pretty sure Zemina had a panic attack at that second. She got really nervous and turned pale and literally broke into a sweat within a minute. And then she came up with some lame excuse about really having to go to the bathroom. Anyway, Miss Tanabe let her off the hook because she ended up not making anyone dance together. Then, yesterday, in my science elective, we were doing this cool mystery powder investigation where we had to classify a substance as an acid or a base. Everyone had to heat their mystery powders on a heating plate and make observations, so we were all huddled around the powders with our notebooks. Now, there are 8 kids in the elective, and 7 of them were squished together on one side of the plate, while the other one of them, me, had loads of room on the other side. So, of course, I noticed this. But I was hoping Miss Rubin wouldn't notice because I didn't want her to say something. But of course she did notice this, and of course she said something. Guys, there's plenty of room on that side. Tristan, Nino, go over there, she said. So Tristan and Nino scooted over to my side. Tristan and Nino have always been okay nice to me. I want to go on record as saying that. Not super nice, like they go out of their way to hang out with me, but okay nice, like they say hello to me and talk to me like normal. And they didn't even make a face when Miss Rubin told them to come on my side, which was of kids, which a lot of kids would do when they think I'm not looking. Anyway, everything was going fine until Tristan's mystery powder started melting. He moved his foil off the plate just as my powder began to melt too, which is why I went to move mine off the plate. And then my hand accidentally bumped his hand for a fraction of a second. Tristan jerked his hand away so fast he dropped his foil on the floor while also knocking everyone else's foil off the heating plate. Tristan, yelled Miss Rubin, but Tristan didn't even care about the spilled powder on the floor or that he had ruined the experiment. What he was most concerned about was getting to the lab sink to wash his hands as fast as possible. That's when I knew for sure that there was this thing about touching me at Beecher Prep. I think it's like the cheese touch in Diary of a Wimpy Kid. The kids in that story were afraid they'd catch the cooties of the if they touched the old moldy cheese on the basketball court. At Beecher Prep, I'm the old moldy cheese. I hope this isn't the sad one. Nope, not yet. For me, Halloween is the best in the world. Best holiday in the world. It even beats Christmas. I get to dress up in a costume. I get to wear a mask. I get to go around like every other kid with a mask, and nobody thinks I look weird. Nobody takes a second look. Nobody notices me. Nobody knows me. I wish every day could be Halloween. We could all wear masks all the time. Then we could walk around and get to know each other before we got to see what we looked like under the masks. When I was little, I used to wear an astronaut helmet everywhere I went. There's that, what we know. Uh, to the playground, to the supermarket, to pick Vaya up from school. Even in the middle of summer, though it was so hot my face would sweat. I think I wore it for a couple of years, but I had to stop wearing it when I had my eye surgery. I was about 7, I think. And then we couldn't find the helmet after that. Mom looked everywhere for it. She figured that it had probably ended up in Gran's attic. She kept meaning to look for it, but by then I had gotten used to not wearing it. I have pictures of me in all my Halloween costumes. My first Halloween, I was a pumpkin. My second, I was a tiger. My third, I was Peter Pan. My dad dressed up as Captain Hook. My fourth, I was an astronaut. Oh, I'm sorry. My fourth, I was Captain Hook. My dad dressed up as Peter Pan. Oh, they did opposites. Funny. My fifth, I was an astronaut. My sixth, I was Obi-Wan Kenobi. My seventh was the bleeding scream, the one that had the fake blood oozing out all over the skull mask. This year, I was going to be Boba Fett. Not Boba Fett, the kid in Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, but Boba Fett, the man from Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Mom searched everywhere for the costume, but couldn't find one in my size, so she bought me Jango Fett costume, since Jango was Boba's dad and wore the same armor, and then painted the armor green. She did some other stuff to it to make it look worn too. Anyway, it looks totally real. Mom's good at costumes. That costume would probably come into play this Halloween because we all been watching Mando, and in Mando, that same costume came back into effect, the one that belonged to Jenga and then Boba Fett. In homeroom, I know George is nodding his head right now. I don't know if anybody else is, but George knows what I'm talking about. In homeroom, we all talked about what we were going to be for Halloween. Charlotte was going to be Hermione from Harry Potter. Jack was going as Wolfman. I heard that Julian was going as Jango Fett, which was a weird coincidence. I don't think he liked hearing that I was going as Boba Fett. On the morning of Halloween, Vaya had this big crying meltdown about something. Vaya's always been so calm and cool, but this year she had a couple of these kinds of fits. Dad was late for work and was like, Vaya, let's go, let's go. Usually Dad is super patient about things, but not when it comes to us being late for work. And his yelling just stressed out Vaya even more, and she started crying louder. So Mom told Dad to take me to school and that she'd deal with Vaya. Then Mom kissed me goodbye quickly before I even put on my costume and disappeared into Vaya's room. Augie, let's go now, said Dad. I have a meeting. I can't be late for it. I haven't put on my costume yet. So put it on already. 5 minutes. I'll meet you outside. I rushed to my room and started to put on the Boba Fett costume, but all of a sudden I didn't feel like wearing it. I'm not sure why. Maybe because it had all of these belts that needed to be tightened and I needed someone's help to put it on. Or maybe it was because it smelled a little like paint. All I knew was that it was a lot of work to put on the costume, and Dad was waiting and would get super impatient if I made him late. So at the last minute, I threw on the bleeding scream costume from last year. It was such an easy costume, just a long black robe and a big white mask. I yelled goodbye from the door on my way out, but Mom didn't even hear me. I thought you were going as Jango Fett, said Dad when I got outside. Boba Fett. Whatever, said Dad. This is a better costume anyway. Yeah, it's cool, I answered. All right, I know we talked about the sad chapter and it still hasn't come. And of course, if you've ever seen the movie, you already know what's going to happen. But we'll read the rest of this when I come back. Maybe we'll even squeeze it in on Wednesday. All right, so we'll start out the bleeding scream on Wednesday.